Grand Canyon.
Yay!
So,
Well, then I won't have...
you guys can't see it, but we've got a pretty cool view. We're on our way to Williams, I think. Williams, Arizona.
I don't know, you know.
Where the Grand Canyon is. So it's got like a cool little mountain vibe right now. But we had some time in the car, and I wanted to get a reaction video going to the Logan Paul KSI card and kind of what I thought of the card, how it went down. And I also wanted to talk about UFC Fight Night Lincoln. I didn't watch, to be completely honest, I didn't watch a lot of the UFC Lincoln card just because I was working. I had to work last night, but I caught the main event. I caught a little bit of the Andre Fili, Michael Johnson fight. So we'll talk about that, but I wanted to start off with the KSI Logan Paul card, which, in my opinion, I thought was, you know, for the overall event, for what is, you know, expected of something of that magnitude, I thought it delivered. And I say that because I turned on my live stream just to check it because I didn't watch it live. I ended up having to kind of wait and not spoil it for myself because we had to go to a birthday breakfast for this one.
Yay.
The big 2-3 Michael Jordan years, you know what I mean? So I came back later and we watched, and I think it had, when I turned it on, 400,000 concurrent viewers in the live stream for a YouTube event featuring YouTubers boxing, which, if you don't think that's a success for those guys, you're so sorely mistaken. And I saw this a lot online, and I wanted to address it too. A lot of people gave this event a lot of hate, especially the main event, which we'll get to. But a lot of people gave this a lot of hate, and it was mostly based around the fact that there wasn't a lot of skill on display throughout the entire event. And the thing I'm wondering is, what did you guys think was going to happen, right? You buy an entertainment product made by entertainers, put on by entertainers, about entertainers. No one was promised a professional boxing match.
Sorry.
No one was. We're good. No one was promised a professional boxing match. No one was, like, it was literally laid out that there would be YouTubers boxing each other in an amateur fashion for the entertainment, for the viewers. And so when I saw online that, oh, this fight was terrible, it was a disgrace to the sport of boxing, disgrace to martial arts in general, to that specific brand, it shouldn't have happened. That just sounds like a lot of jealousy and hate to me, because I thoroughly enjoyed the entire event. I didn't watch every single fight, but I you know, from what I watched, the guys were out there and they were taking it seriously, and that's all you want from an event like that, is for guys to take it seriously. And they were going out each and every fight and trying to do their best. And you saw, you know, for what it was, guys had trained for maybe a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and for what it's worth, they weren't terrible. I mean, some guys, yeah, you know, they're not boxers, of course not. But for the amount of training all the guys had on the card, I thought the event turned out great. It was a super cool environment. I think it's good for YouTube. I think it's good for boxing. I mean, more eyes were on that event, obviously, because of the names involved. But as kids that watch this, which I'm sure there were a lot of youngsters watching, there's so much more potential for the sport of boxing just by seeing some of their people that they look up to doing it, right? And so we'll just go through the card really quick. This isn't going to be a long video.
My arm is about to fall off.
Yeah, Kelsey is trucking it right now with her left arm. The biceps are going. She's flexing on them. But we'll try to make this quick because I want to try this format out for you guys. We do a lot of the live streams, and of course I love the live streams. We're going to keep doing that so I can interact with you guys just right at that person-to-person level. But I want to try this out in case, you know, I'm not at my computer and one day we're out on the road and I just want to, you know, talk about something and do a quick little video. But a couple of the fights I caught on the Logan Paul KSI card, I caught the Face Sensei fight. I mean, pure class by Face Sensei. The guy was, you know, everything you expected him to be in the ring. His movement was amazing. His timing was impeccable. He didn't have to show a lot. I can't remember the guy's name he was fighting, but he didn't have to show a lot as far as his actual skill standing up. It looked like the first couple of rounds he was kind of feeling it out. Didn't really want to hurt the guy too much. Didn't really want to go super crazy. But the guy, I guess, was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and started trying to do a lot of the dirty boxing in the clinch and then trying to grapple more. And then all of a sudden tried to throw Sensei on his head with a outside leg trip, which I thought was a little uncalled for. It's, again, it's an exhibition, it's a YouTube event. You're not trying to be out there and hurt anybody. unless you're boxing and you want to show your skill in boxing. We're not out here trying to break the rules and start throwing guys on their head when it's obviously they can't protect themselves. Their hands are caught in 16-ounce gloves. So he tried to outside trip on FaZe, took him to the ground. They stood it back up, and I think that pissed FaZe off a little bit, and he started working him to the body. 3 liver shots to the body, and they waved it off. And again, pure class. He was far better standing than the other guy was. So I was excited to see that fight, and he delivered on all aspects. So that was cool. I didn't catch a lot of the fights, but of course the co-main and the main, Jake Paul versus Deji, KSI Logan Paul. As far as the Jake Paul Deji fight, I thought that we saw a lot from both guys. For one, both guys have only been trained. People forget this. Again, you're watching a YouTube event. This is not a professional boxing match or card. These guys don't claim to be professionals. KSI said he wants to turn pro. I think he's probably going to rethink that after this fight. But these guys aren't professionals, so you have to take it with a grain of salt and for what it is. These guys are 2 or 3 months into boxing training, which I can say personally, my footwork is terrible. I never have claimed to be a professional boxer, professional fighter. But when you start to train something, it's regardless of what sport you've played, even if it is a combat sport like wrestling, the footwork is different, the cardio is different, which we saw as well. But for what we saw, Jake came out, really established his reach and his jab, and I thought that was a really good strategy by him because it didn't look like either guy was going to be able to put together combinations, which I said in the live stream, to be able to land accurately. So I thought it was good to stay behind his jab. He didn't have the reach advantage. His timing wasn't as good as Deji's, in my opinion. I thought Deji had a really good feel for the counter punch and catching Jake off balance and then countering with the flurry. Even if it wasn't the best technique in his flurry, he would land 1 or 2 shots. And he had a big power left hand that would come over the top that was catching Jake pretty much every single time. If he wanted the left hand, it was there. And so, if there was any advice to Deji from my kind of perspective, it would be to make sure because he is a southpaw, make sure you set up that left hand, and every time he came over the top with it, it landed. He actually bloodied Jake up a little bit, which, I think thoroughly impressed and satisfied the internet because, of course, there were memes all over today about that. But I think a lot of people just tuned in to watch Jake Paul get punched in the face. And I will say, for him being the pretty boy and Mr. YouTube and having all the vlogs and the money and all this, those 2 brothers, all 4 of those guys are straight up hustlers because they got in and did something they said they were going to do. Jake Paul got punched in the face, bled from the nose, and you got to give the guy his credit. He came out, he won the fight. I think in the 5th round he put on a flurry and it was just too much. I think Deji was gassed. I think Jake was gassed, but I think he had a little more in the tank. And I think Deji just couldn't put his hands up anymore, and his corner threw in the towel. A lot of people will look at that and say, "Oh, like why did his corner throw the towel in? He deserved to go out in a better, a better fashion." Deji got nothing to prove to anybody. The guy again left his camp that his brother was in, trained by himself. Everyone thought he would get knocked out in the 1st round. Myself, I thought he would get outclassed, and it didn't happen. That was a back and forth fight. Jake ultimately, lasted a little bit longer and had the better cardio and withstood him. But that guy cannot hang his head. He said he'd let down a lot of people. I thought he did great. I thought both guys did. So props to Jake. Again, I was thoroughly entertained because I like watching improvement. It doesn't have to be the best skill in the world. I just like watching the improvement of fighters. And then you have Logan Paul, KSI, and I swear, man, this fight starts, and without sounding like a Logan Paul fanboy, I was so impressed with how much he had learned in 3 months of boxing training, just from the fact that he was able to put together a combination that looked like if he landed clean without headgear on, he would put someone down. The 1st round, KSI wobbled after a 1-2, a straight right, and KSI had to, go for the clinch. And so Logan looked thoroughly, trained and conditioned for the fight. What are you looking at?
Making sure.
Got them shades, little girl.
Sorry.
Look, guys, try not to get too distracted. I know she's the eye candy. You know what I mean? We try to keep her off camera so you guys control yourselves, but we had to include her today. Just birthday girl. So, but she's mine. All right. Don't get any ideas.
No ideas.
But so yeah, Logan looked in this especially in the early going, looked to be the better technical boxer, which was surprising to me because KSI had more training, had been boxing longer, and had actual fight experience. So it's almost one of those things where I could not believe how good Logan Paul had gotten in 3 or 4 months. Was light on his feet, was avoiding punches, was taunting KSI, and then hitting him with some big shots and going back and taunting him some more. So both guys thoroughly confident in themselves. But that's when after the second round, the switch and the tempo and the momentum of the fight kind of changed. You saw KSI starting to come on. You saw Logan starting to fade. I attribute that more so to Logan's lack of experience in the ring and just his lack of boxing cardio. But you have to give a guy like KSI credit. He took some bombs in the first 2 rounds, and not bombs as far as YouTubers. Logan Paul is a big dude, and he threw a straight right hand with decent technique, decent enough to knock someone on their ass. And KSI took it and kept moving forward on him and found a way to get back into that fight, and ultimately found a way to start outclassing Logan. And it was mostly, in my opinion, because Logan was starting to gas and he could not keep the same form he had in the first couple of rounds. But KSI again showed his veteran savvy, showed he had ice in his veins and knew what he was doing. He'd been there before and really put on a good show. And then toward the end of I think it was the 5th and 6th round, he had Logan hurt a little bit, had him a little wobbly. I think again, most of it was Logan being gassed, and both guys were, but KSI looking very mentally strong in those last 2 rounds to be able to keep pouring on the pace and keep Logan backing up, which is crazy to see because Logan towers over him in the ring. But KSI, not 1 ounce of fear. It stood right in there, took some big shots, and kept moving forward on Logan Paul. And ultimately, it came down to a majority draw, which I know you guys have seen, and you don't like that result. Actually, I'm not too upset with it. I actually like the result, and I'll tell you why. Because when you have 2 guys that are, again, very young in their boxing training, and it's so hard to score a fight where not many guys are landing, and when they do land, you got to take into account how it hurt them. Did it hurt them? Was there a lot more shoving and clinching than an actual punch thrown? And so, while I thought KSI did enough not to lose, I don't think he did enough to win. I don't think he did enough to get the clear-cut win because of how much damage he took in the first 2.5 rounds. Logan, I think Logan didn't necessarily win the fight, but I don't think he lost it either, just because of the fact that he did so much damage in those first couple of rounds. So, I think the result was okay. I think there was one judge that did give KSI the win, 58-57, but I think that ultimately the right decision was made in a majority draw. They are going to rematch, and I'm excited for it. I know people are calling it a money grab and a cash grab, and while I'm sure they made a good amount of money on it, it's because the fights were entertaining. And I think that, again, I'm a big fan of progression. I like to see these guys that really start at the ground level and try to learn the sport of boxing, which is one of the most difficult sports to learn and master. I love to see progression and improvement every time, so I'm excited for the rematch. I don't know. I had a thoroughly entertaining experience. So that's my take on the KSI Logan Paul card. I'd love to get in on that card on the rematch. I'm just saying. I know we're a young 120 on the subscriber list. We're nowhere close. We need about 5 million more. But if you guys are looking for a wild card, someone to step in on last minute notice, I might be in a cast at the time. You know what I'm saying? Coming off surgery, but let your boy get in there, man. Listen, let me throw some right hands. Let me. What is wrong with you?
You are such a scary driver.
My driving's a little scary, but I'm scarier in the ring. So I'm saying,
no.
Let me get in there. All right. And real quick before we go, I want to talk about the UFC Lincoln card. I didn't get to see a lot of the card. I'll be honest with you guys. I was working. We were trying to get prepared to get out and take on the Grand Canyon today, so I didn't get to see a lot of it. But I did see the full a minute and a half fight from Justin Gaethje and James Vick. And James Vick was a guy I talked about on the podcast being a really difficult matchup for a lot of guys. He's 5'11", fighting in that 155 class, which is tough, man. It's tough to deal with that kind of length and that kind of distance especially when he knows how to control his distance and control the fight from where he wants it to go. But Justin Gaethje, man, comes out, and he said this in his post-fight interview. He took it very personally, the way James Vick had talked about him, and I'm not going to repeat the things that he said because I don't particularly like the vernacular that he used, but you guys can go check that out. Basically, was just, talking a lot of trash about Justin Gaethje and his family. But he came out, walked straight at James Vick, threw the overhand right, and cut the lights out. A minute and a half in, Justin Gaethje, the highlight, returns once again after 2 spectacular fights, but also 2 losses. Looks like he's back. He calls out Tony Ferguson at the end of his fight. I thought that was a great call out. And he's so down to earth, and he's such a likable guy that when he gets on the mic, he's so genuine. And he said, I'm the least fake guy in this business. I want to put on entertaining fights, and I want to win. That's all he needs to say. Call out someone, calls out Tony Ferguson. I'm completely fine with that. The other fight, so I loved that fight. The other fight I didn't get to watch, but I saw a couple of highlights and I saw the result. Was Andre Fili and Michael Johnson. Really, really razor close fight from what I saw. Johnson gets a split decision. I'm a big Andre Fili fan. He's at a Team Alpha Male, and I like watching all those Team Alpha Male guys try to improve. Man, it's a great team out there. But Michael Johnson keeps kind of positioning himself right in the middle of that 155 pack. Can he get over that hump and get into the main event scene? I don't know. Andre Fili, a younger guy, still got a lot of time to improve his skills, and I think he was on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak. So both those guys will be fine. I would love to see a rematch from those 2 guys because that was a razor thin result. But yeah, the UFC Lincoln card, success obviously for Justin Gaethje. What he goes on to next, I'd love to see him fight Tony Ferguson, but Tony's got Anthony Pettis coming up on the October 6th card, so I guess that'll be a little bit off. Maybe Paul Felder, if you guys saw the post-fight interview. Paul Felder interviewed him and said he'd love to fight him, so I'd love to see that too, man. Justin Gaethje's always game, so who knows? I think he'd take on anyone, anywhere. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up right there.
Woo.
17 minutes in,
And my arm is going to fall off.
Kelsey's been a trooper for us. Thank you guys so much for showing the channel support after such a long time off. I really do want to kind of include these as kind of a short form. I know it's 17, 18, 20 minutes, whatever it is, but we'll find that kind of sweet spot. I just like to give you guys more variety in the channel, and we're taking it seriously. As much as I know I keep saying we keep cutting it off, and we just had a lot of things going on, but that's no excuse. You guys want content, we got it. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Check out the weekly hour-long kind of long form podcast. We do those maybe once, hopefully twice, maybe 3 times a week now. But yeah, check us out. We're gonna be on Twitch soon. We're gonna get the clothing line coming back. We gotta figure out some logistics with that, but we'll get it going. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you watched the fight. Tell me what you thought of the KSI Logan Paul card. Tell me what you thought of UFC Fight Night Lincoln. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time here on the W.A.D.E Concept Podcast. We are debating everything.
Boom. Okay, bye.